Now, the naval race is something that is extremely significant before the First World War. But actually it is not a major cause of the war. But certainly there are a lot of exam questions on it, so you do need to know it. You can also use this in an essay about causes of the war. You could do a paragraph about this, that would be absolutely fine. But remember, you would always say it would be something else in the conclusion, because the naval race wasn't the major cause of the First World War. So, the naval race. If you are talking about any other countries than Britain or Germany, you are getting that wrong. Okay, so make sure you are only talking about Britain and Germany in the naval race. So as I've said before on previous podcasts, and I'll mention again in some ones in the future that you'll be looking at to revise, Britain had the strongest navy. And the reason for that is Britain is an island, so they felt they needed a strong navy so they would be protected. So for years that had been the case. Britain had always ruled the waves. That's how everybody knew about us and our navy. But the problem is Germany started to build up their navy at the turn of the century. So from about 1900 onwards, the Kaiser became absolutely obsessed by the navy. And the reason for this was he spent a lot of time in the summers when he was a child over with his grandmother, Queen Victoria. And he'd always been so impressed by the British Navy, and then it made him want to have a big navy himself when he became leader of Germany. So what happened in terms of these ships were, Britain started making some ships called dreadnoughts. Now the word dreadnought actually means fearless, and originally it was only going to be one ship named that, but because a lot were made in exactly the same design, then loads of ships got called that. So they became known as dreadnoughts, and then Germany copied our design. And the reason why it became a problem, the naval race, was because these ships were the best military ships that we'd ever been able to produce. And the Germans had then stolen our design and our blueprint so they could make the same. And they should be called fearless, the ships, because it could down another ship in 5 minutes, they were, that effective, and also it could shoot another ship from miles away. So these long-range guns were something that were extremely powerful, and I can't stress to you how powerful they were. They were so significant in terms of that. So what happened is there was a race on to build them. And in 1909, the naval race peaked. And we were going to make 5 dreadnoughts that year. But what happened is we worried that we would get behind the Germans. So what happened was the public pleaded and said, we want 8 and we won't wait. So this "we want 8 and we won't wait" slogan, everybody started to sing, and then the government did find money to start making more dreadnoughts that year and obviously in the years to follow. So we did stay above them, we absolutely did, we stayed in front of Germany, and by 1911 Germany totally realised that the naval race was lost really, and the Kaiser was intelligent because he didn't keep flogging a dead horse. He was like, okay, we've lost that, so he put more money going into the armed forces and things, which actually at the start of the war was more useful because it was more of a land war, and we obviously kept putting money into our navy. So by 1914, and you do need to know this, by 1914 we had 29 dreadnoughts and Germany only had 17. And what happened is they only had 1/3 of our naval strength. So if you looked at all the boats that we had all together, they only had 1/3 of our naval strength. So that is why it's not a major cause of the First World War, because we'd actually already won the naval race and Germany weren't going to war just because we'd won that. But what it does show, and this is really important, it shows the rivalry between Britain and France, and it means that if there was a war, and it's very possible at this point, Germany and Britain would be on opposite sides, which is exactly what happened.